here's a fun question for you, right? So are there any tips that I or even the audience can use when taking better pictures for Instagram and other social media platforms?
Yeah, I think one easy and quick tip is to think about composition, and just how you place people and things within your image, that kind of highlights whatever it is you want to focus on. And I think a very easy tip, and something that, when I look at Instagram pictures, it's kind of funny. Like, I'm like, "Ah, I wish they had just done this or done that." And I think it would make the picture a lot better. Is just, I think about completion, in terms of, if you want to take a picture of someone, don't cut out their elbow if you can, like, or their shoes. Like, keep every little piece of that subject within the frame that you can, because then it just creates it. You don't really notice it, but it creates a more visually appealing image, because as a viewer, you're getting full information. Like, you see the full hand, you see the full foot, you see everything. When people cut stuff off, there is that subconscious, like, oh, I don't like, you don't really get the full thing. Like, you don't know what shoes they're wearing because you cut it off by mistake. You don't know what their
True.
hand is doing because you cut it off. So just doing that little tip, trust me, like, you'll realize that it just looks a bit nicer because it's not like abruptly cut off anywhere. So just trying to make sure you keep everything as much as you can within that little box of the frame. Yeah.
I was even gonna ask, like, what if like they're cutting off the part of their body just for like
Mhm.
that element? It's gonna sound weird, but an element of intrigue. Like, do you ever think, oh, maybe it's intrigue, or do you think, nah, just put everything in? I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Nah, so, and this is a funny thing about photography and I guess art in general, is that there are certain rules and certain teachings, in terms of how to create and compose an image. But then there's beauty in breaking all those rules. So, like you said, cutting off a certain part of a body to create mystery is a very good tool that you can use. But I think it's better when you know you're doing it, as opposed to you cut the body off because you just didn't know how to fit everything into it, or you weren't even thinking about it. Like, when it's done with intent, then I think as an audience, it's easy to tap into that and to buy into that, because it's done with intent. For example, if I'm gonna cut off, like, here, I might cut it off in a point where it's like it's straight. You know what I mean? Like, it's everything else is still straight and arranged properly. Whereas if I tilt like this and you cut me off like this, like,
Uh,
it's like, what's good? It looks weird. You know what I
yeah, I
mean?
get
Like,
that.
so whereas if you cut me off here, at least it's cut off, but at least there's some shape to it and some, it looks a bit more thought about, as opposed to that. Yeah. So there's a quick example, but yeah, I hope you get it.
No, I do. Related to that, actually, do you think selfies are good pictures?
Oh yeah. So, if are they good pictures? I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, it's
It was a
hard
little
because,
sly
like,
with that. Yeah, I was like, oh, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it's like, again, like, what is the selfie for? But I think they're cool. Like, I wouldn't necessarily go to exhibition of someone that just took a bunch of selfies, unless there's like, they really sold me on what it is they're trying to highlight through these selfies. Um, uh, so I mean, I don't really. I think if they're done with intent and there's a reason why, then I might, be a bit more interested. Whereas if you're just putting up a selfie in your story to let us know that you look good, like, that's cool too. But I'm not really thinking about it other than that's cool. Like, I wouldn't go into as much depth in trying to understand it than I would with some of the photography that I'm talking about, and I kind of look at. But they're interesting though, because really, like, for everyone, you can go back in time and just look through your selfies and see, how you've changed, how you've grown, how you evolved, how your emotions have changed. Even think about how you felt that day, and I think it's cool because it's like a visual diary that nobody, or not nobody, but people may not realize that they're keeping. So we don't traditionally keep diaries nowadays, but we do take a lot of selfies, and in a way, that's a way of recording yourself over time. So from that respect, yeah, selfies are cool. Keep doing it, document yourself. But yeah,
Right?
I need to hear something. If you're gonna invite me to an exhibition on selfies, like we need to know what we're exploring.
Honestly, what if the girl was like, "Oh, but this red dress is meant to show my anger"? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
It's a bit of a stretch,
there's a
but
talent in it. There's a talent in it though. Like, and I think some people have really mastered in terms of how to get the best out of themselves visually through selfies.
mhm,
So there's an art to selfies as well in that respect.
I can
But yeah,
imagine.
it's yeah.
You know when some
I
people
don't.
are like saying, I don't know about you because you take the photos, you're a photographer, but
Mhm.
when I'm trying to take a selfie, someone will be like, "Oh, light here, angle here," and then all that, and I'm like, "What? This is a process? Like I
Yeah.
didn't know." Like, but yeah,
That's the thing. I mean, yeah. Now some people will go the distance to the selfie and just a picture of themselves, and it's fine because I mean that's visual. Like, it's all visual language really, and it's there for you to use however and whenever you like. So it's cool. Yeah, it's selfies are cool.
selfies.
Selfies
That's
are
fair.
cool.
All right, so this is my final question, basically. So my
Okay.
channel's on pop culture and entertainment, and I'm
Mhm.
wondering if there's anything interesting that you're watching or any game that you're playing that's just
Oh,
caught your eye, especially during this season.
yeah. Um, watching. So right now, funnily enough, like similar to you, I'm thinking, and I've been kind of studying and trying to think about a film and what goes into making a film and how it's composed. So I've been watching a lot of old stuff by some really good directors, like the Spielbergs, the Tarantinos,
Mm,
even J.J. Abrams, watching Star Wars again, Ocean 11,
uh,
watching really highly rated and high budget kind of movies to see like, okay, these guys had all the money in the world to do what they want, and like how, like what did they do? Like how did they compose and put this movie together? So I guess it's more like I've been watching that kind of stuff with a bit more of an educational um, perspective and trying to teach myself, how I have some masters put together movies. Um, so it's been good on that perspective, and that's what I've been focusing on. But I've also been trying to watch a bit more like artistic art films or artistically orientated films. For example, there's a film called Farming. I don't know if you've seen it.
what's it about?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's about this. He's actually a Nigerian actor now, but I think it's in the 80s. A lot of Nigerian parents used to do this thing called farming, where they would come to the UK with their kids, but then they would send their kids off to some family in Essex to raise while they focus on their education and things like that. And some of these people take on multiple children, and that's why they called it farming, because it's like a farm. You've got a farm of all these African kids that you're just
Oh,
taking care
interesting.
of while their parents, yeah, and yeah, it's very interesting. It's very educational film, which taught me stuff that I didn't know. But this particular character, he's in a farming situation, and he actually goes off and joins these skinheads, like these
Oh, I remember this.
yeah far right English guys in the National Front and all that. And it's crazy. He's a black guy and he joins them, and it's like this whole story of like how he navigates that, and how he hates himself, how he hates black people, and it's very like poetically done. Like a lot of the scenes are very if you took the scene in itself, and for me, like if you take a picture of the scene, it's very like a really good picture, and a very artistic picture. So that's why I say a bit more artistic films, because it's a bit more abstract, a bit more loose. It's not all about you know visuals or action, or using expensive and high quality resources like some of the Hollywood movies that you see. It's a bit more focused on the art and how you piece together a film in an artistic way. And there's another film called Atlantis, which is a French. It's directed by a French lady. So the film is actually in French, but it's set in. I want to say it's set in Senegal or one of the francophone West African countries, and that's another artistic film. It's a bit interesting because they talk about kind of like the afterlife and stuff like that, like stuff you might typically see in Nollywood films. But again, this one is done in a quite an artistic way, a bit more subtle. Like I think these films are hard because as a viewer, you have to work a bit harder to try and get what's really going on. But when you can get it, or at least if you don't get it, you can appreciate like the art that went into composing this film. And so those are other films I've been looking at. So yeah, Farming, Atlantis, all the big boy classics, Godfather included, everything. I've been watching those. And yeah, the Last Dance documentary, the MJ documentary.
I still
That's
need to
good.
watch that. I heard
I
it's
really,
amazing.
after that, you think you can fly, man. Like it's
Oh
crazy.
wow,
It's
no,
very
I need to watch that.
motivating. It's very motivating. Like that guy was Michael Jordan or something else. Like yeah, but
I was gonna coming back to that question, right? So one thing I've noticed with two small questions. So one, do you ever watch a big budget film and think, wow, they really used a lot of money on this when they could have just shown more of this?
oh yeah, I think. Do you want to ask the other question, or should I
Oh
answer
yeah, the
that
other
one first?
question is, what was I gonna say? So you said you watched a lot more. It was just very small. Have you watched this film called Lighthouse? Because Lighthouse is quite arty, and I just recently
Uh,
saw it, and that was like one of the most artiest films I've ever seen.
oh
And it
really?
didn't have that much speaking. I don't know. You might like it because it's black and white,
Yeah, I
and
need
it's
to watch that.
about a sailor and coming onto this lighthouse. He has to work in a lighthouse with this other. I would call him his boss because he hires him. And
Yeah.
do you like visually studying films like that, or artists, or if you've heard of those ones?
No, so I haven't heard of Lighthouse, but yeah, those kind of films definitely like I love watching them, and I'm looking to watch them more because I think again it's like going back to this whole idea of storytelling, like it's yeah, I can go far on it, but like even music to some degree is a form of is storytelling. Poetry is storytelling. So it's kind of like if you have storytelling at the basis, what mediums give you is levers that you can pull to tell the story. So music, you have the instruments, you have the composition of the instruments, you have the lyrics, you have the way you combine the lyrics with the music, so many different things you can pull to kind of create a story. And the same thing is with film. And I think with art films, that's where you see people flex things in different ways and more interesting ways. Like you said, like with Lighthouse, it's black and white. There's less talking, and that makes you focus more on the visuals, right? And what's really going on, because you're not distracted by color, you're not distracted by too much dialogue. So they're trying to tell you a story, but they're using different levers or using the levers differently to engage you and carry you through that story. And so I think that's why those kind of films are interesting because they give you another way of looking at storytelling through the medium of film. And yeah, in terms of looking at some big budget films and thinking, could they have done better? I mean, yeah, I think it happens all the time. It's hard though because obviously I'm not. I haven't directed a film, so I don't know the intricacies and the difficulties. And sometimes people maybe have this great idea of doing this, and then when it actually comes out, it looks like something else. But
Sure.
they're getting paid, so they have to just put it out. They can't
Yeah.
can't change it. But yeah, I think there's definitely a lot, and that's why I find quite interesting. It's quite motivating for me, and it should be for you as a aspirational filmmakers. Is that like there's so many levers and so many things that you can pull that even if you don't have a big budget, you can look at other ways to still get across an impactful and interesting story that are less expensive or less take up less resources. For example, making a film black or white, it doesn't cost you anything. You just take out the color. But now you've differentiated your movie, or you've found a way of enhancing an aspect of your storytelling, and that was cheap. So yeah, sometimes even I think maybe having too much money is even a curse because then you think you need to do everything and you get bogged down in it. And I do see that in some films. And the best way to find that is look at movies that have had crazy trailers, all this really been pumped out in the media, a lot of marketing, and then you look at the IMDb rating and it's like 4, 5. So that shows you maybe they
Crazy.
didn't use their money wisely because they clearly had money to be doing all this marketing and all this distribution and all the biggest cinemas, but then what they produced was
trash.
yeah, according to the critics. Yeah, exactly.
True. True. I get that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for this interview. This has been a lot of fun. This has been a big joy.
No worries,
So
man.
one
Thank you.
thing for my viewers, if they want to find you, well, when they want to find you, should they
Yeah.
find you?
Okay, so if you want to find me, you need to look for me. No, I'm joking. Let me start. Let me start that. So first place is probably Instagram. I think that's where I showcase most of my photography work and what I'm doing. Um, and also I have an online portfolio, which is work in progress. But there you can kind of get what I'm doing and see my work in a bit more depth. You know, it's not lost in the sea of social media. So yeah, I'm happy to share both of those. At Keleenna, that's KELEENNA, is my Instagram, and then my portfolio is, maybe you can just put the link or
Oh
something
yeah, of
because
course. I was
it's
gonna
a bit
put them
longer
anyway, but
to spell out.
yeah,
Yeah,
don't worry.
but
Like,
yeah, that's
don't
the
worry, I
best
got
way
you.
to. That's the yeah, no, I appreciate it. That's the best way to find me. And also, if you're around when I'm exhibiting, come out, come and see, come and comment. You know, even challenge me, fight me. I love people that come to my exhibitions and have a different perspective and a different point of view. Because then now, okay, this is a conversation I can learn something from. Because it's either I'm going to convince this person that I'm right, or I'm going to leave questioning what it is I thought um, at the start. And either way, both of those are beautiful things and help you in your artistic journey. So yeah, come through, fight me, love me, everything. You know,
Like me,
it's
love
all
me.
joy and all
I
joy.
like that. All joy indeed. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and thank you guys for
No worries, man.
watching. Please like and subscribe for more content. I'll be doing more
Thank
interviews
you.
like this. This is a lot of fun. So, yeah, I hope you have a great day. All right. See you
No,
later.
man.